My reflections on the European Convention on Human Rights fall into three main points after completing this course. First, on the abolition of the death penalty. It is genuinely surprising and admirable to me that none of the 47 countries participating in the European Convention on Human Rights still practice the death penalty. As an Asian person, the society I come from, Taiwan, inherits an Eastern culture where the concept of retribution is deeply rooted. This makes the push for abolishing the death penalty very difficult in Taiwan, and we still struggle to fully accept the idea that every human life has absolute value. To be honest, whenever I see an egregious offender, I personally cannot help but waver in my conviction. This is an issue that our society still needs to work on and overcome. Second, on the absence of an Asian human rights mechanism. Because of this course, I went to look up some information and discovered that Asia does not have its own regional human rights convention and enforcement body, unlike the Americas, Europe, and Africa. Some explanations point to the influence of so-called Asian values, but I find this unconvincing. Human rights should be the most fundamental and universally shared value across the entire globe. Perhaps it's my prejudice, but I believe this is related to the Chinese Communist Party's denial of the importance of human rights and its attempt to impede their sound development. I respect China as a nation existing on this earth, but I sincerely hope that the countries of Asia can one day break free from the influence of the Chinese Communist Party and establish a dedicated Asian Human Rights Convention. Of course, China would be welcome to join if it were willing. Third, on the difficulty of balancing rights. How to weigh the human rights of every right, every group, and every individual. I have profoundly felt the difficulty of this in many of the quizzes and exercises. Trade-offs, balance, ensuring fairness, making sure every party is valued, all of this is simply too challenging. This requires a lot of practice, and it also requires people to fundamentally hold the notion that everyone is equal and equally important, along with empathy and tolerance. It feels like there is much work ahead. However, I am also optimistic that, so far, people in communities large and small around the world have already done a great deal. We are all still working, and we can certainly do better. We can always do better.